Hello, very good morning to everyone. Welcome to another session of Odontoniron here. I hope past these days it was so informative and effective for you people, and I'll make sure in further days also it will be effective. And today we are going to see about diuretics. Before going back to some diuretics, we'll just see mechanism of action, how this convoluted tubules and limbs work together and cortex and medulla, and we'll just go forward. And this classification you need to understand first. To understand the classification, you should understand how this renal functions, actually renal physiology. So we'll just start with physiology as a quick stuff and we'll go on. The first thing which you have to know as of such is this is your proximal convoluted tubule. Actually I can't use lighters here, so I'll just try using color which is okay. I'll use this color. The guy which you see here at the beginning is your proximal convoluted tubule. From the proximal convoluted tubule, the fluid goes in. When I say fluid, it's not only your H2O, right? It contains your electrolytes, it contains your glucose, it contains various stuff, right? So it goes in, the fluid goes in from your proximal convoluted tubule. So this is your PCT, this guy is your PCT. From that it goes in. So this is the first segment which we're going to learn today, right? The first segment. The thing which is above, the thing which you see above, this guys, these people are secretion, okay? These are secretions like creatinine, antibiotics, AB is antibiotics, diuretics, and uric acid secretion. And the things which you're seeing in red are your reabsorption, right? So when the fluid is going, when the fluid is passing through by this PCT, certain electrolytes are being reabsorbed, right? For example, your NaCl, the sodium chloride, is being reabsorbed, your potassium is being reabsorbed, your water is being reabsorbed, HCO3 minus is being reabsorbed, your glucose and your amino acids are being reabsorbed, right? It's all reabsorbed in PCT. So that's what people say PCT is the highest source of reabsorption. PCT has the highest source of reabsorption of sodium chloride. You can see 67 to it's around 67 to 40, right? It has highest source of reabsorption sodium chloride. It has a highest source of reabsorption HCO3 minus, which is around 85, right? So this is our PCT. From PCT it just descends down. Okay, descends down. So what you see now in the different color which you see now is your descending limb, because it's descending down, right? So therefore it's descending limb. So from descending limb is permeable to water. So therefore it can reabsorb water, it can reabsorb sodium chloride, and this also reabsorbs sodium chloride in around 25. Okay, around 25% is just reabsorb sodium. Your potassium is reabsorbed, your H2O, your water is being reabsorbed, and your magnesium and calcium is being reabsorbed. So that's what is about a descending limb. From descending limb it just goes up. Let me change the color. Just goes up to the ascending limb, just ascends up, right? So it's ascends up. This ascending limb is impermeable to water, right? So therefore there is no absorption, no reabsorption of water in the ascending limb. So therefore, so just see your descending limb, copy the same thing in ascending limb except water, okay? Except water, everything is being reabsorbed. Except water and your potassium, everything is being reabsorbed. That is, your sodium chloride is being reabsorbed, your magnesium is being reabsorbed, your calcium is being reabsorbed. From ascending limb, it's ascending up, right? From ascending limb, it's ascending up. So once it ascends up, this is your distal. Okay, I'm using the same color. Let me change it. This is your distal convoluted tubule, right? This guy is your distal convoluted tubule. Now, this distal convoluted tubule can be classified, can be divided actually into two parts. One is a proximal part, another is a distal part, which you see here. This is a proximal part. This is a proximal part, and this is a distal part, which can be divided into two parts. Your proximal part reabsorbs your sodium chloride and your calcium, okay, and your distal part reabsorbs again your sodium chloride and water. Okay, so this is what a reabsorption is. After that, after it being reabsorbed in all the places, it descends down. Oh, my goodness, sorry. It descends down via collecting duct and goes via your urine. So we even in collecting duct, last process where your water is being reabsorbed, right? So you have certain hormones, right? Your PTH is working here. If you guys can see your PTH, right? Your PTH is working, your aldosterone is working, your ADH is working, and all this comes in physiology. We'll read about this a bit later. because physiology as of such is a big topic when it comes to renal, because we have drugs to revise. So when it comes to physiology, I'll just go to it. But as of now, just remember your proximal convertible reabsorbs maximum amount of your solutes and solvents, such as sodium chloride. It reabsorbs your sodium chloride in level of 67 to 40%. There is a question in the book, okay, which reabsorbs sodium chloride in maximum concentration. It's your PCT. Your PCT reabsorbs your sodium chloride maximum concentration, which is around 67 to 40. So you have to know this concept, and you have to know that your ascending limb has no reabsorption of water. This guy, the ascending limb, will not reabsorb water, which you have to know. An ascending limb has a transporter which is sodium, potassium, and chloride transporter. As of so, the ascending limb has that transporter, which you have to know. And that's it. A little bit about your renal physiology. Okay, now we'll just go back to the drugs classification. This is very important. As of such, you have to know what is diuretics, okay? To know about drugs, you have to know what is basically this diuretics is about. So, what is diuretics? I hope everything is audible, and use chat box if you guys want to text something, right? So, what is diuretics? See, diuretics is a medication which helps to remove a fluid from the body, okay? As the definition says, medication which helps, oh my god, let me change the color. Medication change the which helps to remove the fluid from the body. When I say fluid, when I say fluid, it's not only water. A fluid is something which is mixture of everything, like electrolytes, solvents, solutes, everything. Okay, so it helps to remove the fluid from the water, right? And what is antidiuretics? Antidiuretics are those which help to retention of the fluid, or antidiuretics, which we'll see next classification. So diuretics can be classified into various parts. First, I'll say about high ceiling diuretics, which is very important, because this high ceiling diuretics are also called as loop diuretics. So these guys are also called as your loop diuretics. When I say loop diuretics, where it acts in a loop, right? Therefore, the name is loop diuretics, loop. So what it inhibits? It inhibits sodium potassium 2 chloride co-transport. So this is what it is. It inhibits, as we saw in the earlier diagram, this guy is being inhibited by the loop diuretic, okay? So now comes the drugs, the hardest part to remember, right? This all to find, people be like, concepts it's fine, but how to remember drugs? Now see, as of drug for loop diuretics, it's simple to remember, because if you open Google, loop diuretics itself, they have, if you open Google and search for diuretics mnemonic, it will say only loop diuretics as of such, but we have made differently as of Indian culture. Okay, see, high ceiling diuretics or loop diuretics, we have certain drugs like furosemide and bumetanide. Furosemide and bumetanide are drugs which you have to remember. These are important drugs. Furosemide and bumetanide are important drugs. Next are torsemide and azoximide and ethcrinic acid. Ethcrinic acid, very important. Ethcrinic acid, azoximide, torsemide, bumetanide, and furosemide. It's all semide, okay, which you have to remember. How you remember this? B fat. B is fat, therefore he is hypo. Okay, in this you can know everything. B is fat is a drug. B is fat, BE, which means bumetanide and ethcrinic acid. B is normal, so it's not any drug. Okay, fat comes your furosemide, A for your azoximide, and T for your torsemide. Therefore, as he is fat, B is fat, therefore he means in he, what I want to say is about the clinical uses. This he denotes the clinical uses of drugs. What are the clinical uses? Where you can use in heart failure, you can use in hypertension, you can use in edema, right? That's what B is fat, therefore he is hypo. When I say hypo, what I mean, and hypo means the side effects, the adverse effects of drug. Okay, when I say hypo, it's adverse effect. What are adverse effect? It can cause hyponatremia, hyponatremia, hypokalemia, hypomagnesemia, and it can cause ototoxicity. Now, this is one type to remember. Another type to remember how is, as it inhibits your sodium, potassium, and chloride channel, right? It inhibits your sodium, potassium, and chloride channel. Of course, once the channel is inhibited, we can't, the normal mechanism reabsorption, right? It will not able to reabsorb. If it's not able to reabsorb, everything will be going into via your urine, right? So therefore, your hyponatremia, sodium will be lost, so it will lead to hyponatremia. Potassium will be lost, it will lead to hypokalemia. Hypomagnesemia, we saw that magnesium and calcium, right? And below you saw the two guys, magnesium and calcium, therefore hypomagnesemia. And ototoxicity is, what is your infection, right? So that's what it is. Clear? So this is what it is. Let me come back again with high ceiling. I'm concentrating this high ceiling diuretics because it's very much important. Okay, high ceiling diuretics are very important. They've been asking about high ceiling diuretics now and then in exams. So high ceiling diuretics also called as loop diuretics, which inhibit sodium potassium chloride co-transport. They are okay. Let's go with mnemonic. That's better. So the mnemonics B is fat, therefore he is hypo, right? So B is fat. So BE is for bumetanide, and E for etacrinic acid. Is normal is. Do not think this is something mnemonic. B is fat. FAT. FAT is furosemide, azoximide, and T is for taurosemide, right? Therefore, when I say he, it's of clinical uses. It's of heart failure, hypertension, and edema, right? So therefore, he is hypo. When I say hypo, it's about adverse effect. Hypo is hyponatremia, hypokalemia, hypomagnesium, and ototoxicity. Clear? So this is about it, folks. Next is your medium efficacy. This is high ceiling diuretics. So next is your medium efficacy diuretics, which inhibits your sodium chloride symport. You have to know what is import, what is antiport. Just Google it up. What is import and what is antiport and what is uniports. These are important things to be known. So medium efficacy drugs basically inhibits your sodium chloride symport in inhibits. Now how you remember benzothiazidines and thiazidine like, okay? Benzothiazidines, you have to remember with the concept of benzothiazidines. So it starts with B and it has H in it. So thiazidines, you have TH. So so it has H in it. So it's benzthiazide. Okay, benzthiazide. For B for benzthiazide, H for it's hydroflumethiazide and hydrochlorothiazide. Okay, you can remember in this way by BH, or else you can remember by flumi and chloro. Okay, are going in benz. Okay, you can remember flumi and chloro are going in benz. So that's what it is, right? Flumi and chloro are going in benz. So you can remember in this way also. So it comes in the concept of hydrochlorothiazide, hydroflumethiazide, and benzthiazide. Clear? Concepts. Flumi and chloro going in benz. See, tomorrow's Valentine's Day doesn't mean you just keep in that concept. Yes, we can keep in that concept also. Okay, flumi and chloro is going in benz. Next is thiazide like. Thiazide like, how you remember? IMCXC. Okay, CXC, IMCXC. So I stands for indapamide, M stands for metolazone. Okay, let me spell how I metolazone. So it's metolazone. Okay, and C stands for clopamide, and again we have one more C which stands for chlorthalidone. Okay, it's L, chlorthalidone, and we have X which is cipamide. It's cipamide. X, it's XIPAMID. It's cipamide. We have another C, I hope I said it's clopamide, right? So let me come back again. One is I, which stands for indapamide. M stands for metolazone. C stands for which C which we'll take first? We'll take this guy. Yes, chlorthalidone, and we have X which stands for cipamide, and we have C again which stands for clopamide. Okay. This is what it is. Medium efficacy diuretics which inhibit sodium and chloride channels. So we can classify these guys into two parts. One is your benzodiazidines and thiazidine like. When it comes to benzodiazidines, we remember two mnemonic. I think flumi and chloro going benz is better. No, flumi and chloro going in benz. So flumi is flumethiazide, and chloro is chlorothiazide, and your benz is benzthiazide. Flumi is hydroflumethiazide, chloro is hydrochlorothiazide, and your benz is benzthiazide. When you go with thiazide like drugs, it's quite tough to remember this mnemonic. It's IMCXC. So I is indapamide, M is metolazone, C is, as you saw, we keep this guy first, so it's chlorthalidone, and X is cipamide, and C is clopamide. Okay, actually, once I start learning this pharmacology, I got a touch of this so-called tongue twisters. I'm able to do many tongue twisters now because of this. Okay. Aren't we going live? Okay, it's live, right? Yeah, sorry, actually, there was a concurrent mistake, so now, so they were checking guys, I haven't been live or not. Clear. If there is any problem, do ping in chat box here, okay? Don't in WhatsApp because my WhatsApp is in my background, which I can see. So if you chat here, I can see it directly. Okay, next is weak or adjunctive diuretics. See, we saw high efficacy, then we saw medium efficacy. Now we are going to see weak diuretics. See, weak, when it comes to weak diuretics, the first thing which you guys have to remember in weak diuretics is your carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. This carbonic anhydrase inhibitor is very important, huh? Because this carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, everywhere you can see many questions regarding to this carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, that is your acetazolamide. Okay, you can see many questions. This carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, where all it acts and what of it is. It is acetazolamide. Next is osmotic. In osmotic, my favorite mnemonic I made today morning. It's osmotic, so it's omizim. Okay, it's not ZYM. It's it's GIM. Okay, omizim. So O is for osmotic, G is for glycerol, and I is for isosorbide, and M is for mannitol. Okay, so O is for osmotic, G is for glycerol, I is for isosorbide, and N is for mannitol. So how we remember? Weak diuretics, we have we studied one first, that is a carbonic and anhydrase inhibitor, is acetazolamide. Now we are studying osmotic, and for osmotic the mnemonic is omizim. So that's O is for osmotic, and G is for glycerol, I is for isosorbide, M is for mannitol. Clear? I'll just zoom it out so that you guys can see it a bit clearly. Fine. Now the next week is your potassium sparing diuretics. In potassium sparing diuretics, we can classify into two parts. One is your aldosterone antagonist, another is your renal epithelium sodium channel blocker. For aldosterone antagonist, the mnemonic is C. Okay. C is spironolactone, E is for eprillinine. Okay, eprillinine, and A is for aldosterone. Clear? And when it comes to renal epithelial sodium channel blockers, the mnemonic is RAT. R is for renal epithelial, and A is for amiloride, and T is for triamterene. Clear? So this is about your diuretics. We have three types of diuretics. Let me just quickly how we remember potassium sparing diuretics as of whole, like without, it's your CRAT. As of whole, how you remember is your CRAT. They don't ask me which animal is that. Okay, because I don't know what animal is that. I just made it randomly. CRAT. Okay, so how you remember such as CRAT? That's S is for spironolactone, E for eprillinine, and A is for aldosterone antagonist, and RAT as of such, R is for renal epithelial sodium channel blockers, and A is for amiloride, and T is for triamterene. Yeah, this is about your diuretics. We'll just quickly have a revision what we have done in diuretics, and we'll just go to antidiuretics. So diuretics as of such, now we got an idea, right? Diuretics as of such can be classified into three parts. One is high ceiling, medium, and weak. That's how your diuretics classified as of three stuff. So high ceiling diuretics basically goes and act on loop diuretics, so loops. Okay, so that's why we call it a loop diuretic. It inhibits the sodium potassium chloride co-transport, and the mnemonic is very easy for this. B is fat, therefore he is hypo. B is fat, therefore he is hypo. So B is bumetanide, and E is acrylic acid. S is normalish, fat is furosemide, A is for azoxamide, and T is for taurosemide. Therefore he is clinical uses, that is heart failure, hypertension, edema. Okay, I feel like I have heart failure, because of these exams. And this is again a normal word. And next is hypo. We have hyponatremia, hypokalemia, hypomagnesemia, and ototoxicity. Yeah, and we saw medium efficacy. Medium efficacy is sodium and chloride channel blocker. Basically, it's a sodium chloride channel blocker. Medium efficacy drugs, sodium chloride channel blockers. Now, yes. Now, this medium efficacy drugs can be classified into two pathways. One is your benzodiazepines and thiazidine-like. Benzodiazepines, our favorite mnemonic, flu and chloro going in benz. As tomorrow is Valentine's Day, people are going outside up and down, and I'm sitting here in the couch and reading pharmacology. Beautiful. Okay, so B benzodiazepines. So it is flu and chloro going in benz. So hydrochlorothiazide, hydroflumethiazide, and benzdiazide. Okay, then thiazidine like IMCXC. So I don't know what this mean, but it's IMCXC is what it made. Okay, it's indapamide, and M is for metolazone, and C is for chlorothalidone, and X is for cipamide, and C is for clopamide. Okay, yeah. Next is the last classification, weak diuretics. Weak diuretics can be again classified into three parts. One is carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, osmotic, and is potassium sparing diuretics, right? So carbonic anhydrase inhibitor as also is acetozolamide. Okay, this acetozolamide, where it acts, why it is so important, this guy acts in proximal convoluted table, and as I said in earlier, first it's a proximal convoluted table is where it has maximum amount of reabsorption, right? But this guy acts in proximal convoluted table, the PCT. So that's why this guy is very important. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, acetozolamide. And in osmotic, O my is Gym is the mnemonic. So O is for osmotic, and G stands for glycerol, I stands for isosorbate, M stands for mannitol. Then potassium sparing diuretics. As of such potassium sparing diuretics, we kept a mnemonic CRAT. Okay. So, but we can classify into two parts. C is for aldosterone antagonist, so spironolactone and eplerenine. And RAT is for renal epithelial sodium channel blocker. R is renal epithelial sodium channel blockers. A is for amiloride, and T is for triamterene. Okay, so this is what of such. Now I'll just say where or what attacks. Your carbonic anhydrates, as I said, your carbonic anhydrates act on your proximal convoluted table. We have osmotic diuretics. This guy is very important. This mannitol. Why? This 20% mannitol. It's a very important question. This when I will talk to my friends, I used to discuss this guy very much, because once a patient have got RTA, if a patient has got RTA and there is no bleeding in head, okay, and you have to maintain the patient, you'll give 20% mannitol as such. Okay, that's what it's very important. 20% mannitol, why it is important. And we saw loop diuretics where it acts, right? Okay, next is potassium sparing diuretics as such. Potassium sparing diuretics acts at the end. Okay, potassium sparing diuretics, here what it acts, I write, see, I've written osmotic and potassium in the distal part of distal convoluted table. Okay, your thiazides acts in proximal part of distal convoluted table. Okay, loop diuretics, I've said it acts on the loop as of such. And in descending limb, osmotic diuretics acts, and this area is where your acetozolamide or carbonic anhydrase inhibitor X. Okay, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors X here. Okay, so that's about your diuretics, and we'll wait for another 5 minutes. We'll just complete antidiuretics also. Antidiuretics as such is not included in today's portion, but still it's important to know, right? We are not supposed to keep anything in half. So what is diuretics? It sends out all the fluid, no? Or what diuretics does? Diuretics basically sends out, right? Whereas antidiuretics reduces. Antidiuretics hold the fluid inside. So what are antidiuretics? You have three. One is ADH and its analogs, natriuretics, and miscellaneous. When it comes to ADH and analogs, VD altitude. What is VD? Vertical dimension at rest and occlusion. Remember Niswongo's method? Oh, sorry, prosthodontics. I'll come later. Prosthodontics we'll discuss later. So VD altitude, what you check in VD? The altitude now, the VD at occlusion and rest we check. So that's for VD alt, VD ALT. Altitude I made to remember. So VD ALT is the mnemonic. VD is for vasopressin, D is for desmopressin. Okay, A comes in middle because it is ADH and its analogs, and L is for lipressin, and T is for telepressin as of such. Or you can remember anything which pressin is your ADH and its analogs. The problem in this last word, you know what? There are some drugs, like yesterday we discussed a drug, right? There are certain drug which comes in next classification also. So people get confused. That's why I make this one also. But you can remember this presence comes with ADH and its analogs. But you remember this guy also, VD altitude, right? Next is natriuretics. Natriuretics, the best mnemonic is TAN. we are very much concerned, or summer is gonna come, and we are also very much concerned about tanning. So tanning, T is for thiazide and A is for amyloride. Okay, amyloride, and N is for natriuretics, and misc is miscellaneous, so it's MIC. Okay, so M is for miscellaneous, and I is for indomethacin, C is for chlorpromamide, and carbamazepine is for C. Okay, so that's what it is. So this is not antidiuretic, is not that much important, but still, guys, just remember this important. Okay. Okay, I think that's it about your diuretics. Let me come back to this diagram, as this diagram is very much important. I'll just summarize this diagram as of such, and we'll just end the session. Okay. So remember, your fluid is coming from your body and it just entered into your glomerulus. This is your glomerulus. Okay, this dirty C type stuff what I've made is your glomerulus. Just enters in a glomerulus, and in a glomerulus you have okay, there are certain hormones. Okay, we'll discuss in that in physiology. And glomerulus, it just bends up and down, and it comes to your proximal convoluted tubule. And the proximal convoluted tubule is very much important because it has high amount of reabsorption of many solutes and electrolytes, and the drug which acts there is your carbonic anhydrase, that is your acetazolamide. Clear? Next, once it bends, sudden dip, that dip is known as, this is your dip, sudden dip, this dip is known as your descending limb. By this descending limb, it is highly permeable to water. Descending limb is permeable to water. You have to remember, descending limb is permeable to water. Then it bends, it comes as loop of Henle. Okay, drugs in descending limb is your osmotic drug. Drugs which acts in descending limb is your osmotic drug. It bends in the loop of Henle. It goes up. Once it goes up, it's on ascending. Ascending is not permeable to water, but it is permeable to salt. That's why sodium chloride is coming out, right? That's why sodium chloride is coming out. That's why there is sodium potassium chloride channel is also available there. Once it ascends up, the drug which acts there is your loop diuretics. That's why it acts in loops. So that's when a loop diuretics. Okay, loop diuretics is super duper important. There are high yielding diuretics, you have to know. And it ascends up, and it again gives a bend. Okay, then it makes distal convoluted tubule. This convoluted tubule can be divided into two parts. One is your thiazide, and another is your one is your proximal, and another is your distal part. The proximal part is mediated by a drug called as thiazide, and a distal part is inhibited by a drug which is osmotic and potassium sparing diuretics. Then it descends down, a collecting duct, and potassium sparing diuretics act there. Okay. Where the potassium sparing diuretics acts. Now we have to remember three hormones. One is a PTH, which acts in proximal part of DCT. Another is aldosterone, which acts at distal part of your DCT, and a ADH, which acts in your collecting duct. Okay, and there is another hormone also, ANP, which acts here in your glomerulus. There is a hormone which ANP, which acts here. Clear? So this is all about your because discussion about your proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule, what is what that, and this summarizes your big stuff of your diuretics. So that's all about diuretics. We don't have much thing. Just revise this. Just see certain clinical factors and up and down. That's about it. Clear? Remember mnemonic. Okay, my famous mnemonic for today's session is this guy, fluent chloro, going in bends, because it's so unfortunate that I'm not able to go on bends. Okay, thank you for your support. Read well. Even I'll try to read well. I know it's being so hard. That's why I'm taking morning. Guys, revise, do well, take care. Thanks for your support. See ya. Bye bye.